What's going on, Mark? How are you?
Very good, very good. Getting close to Christmas, and been a very good year. For Mark Baker Bowling.
Well, thanks to our subscribers and people that have been supporting us. It's definitely been a great year for us too.
Very good.
Very excited to be able to ask you some of these questions. A lot of people have been in the comments constantly dropping questions, so you know it's that time.
Let's see what they got.
It's that time. So first question, what advice would you give for a right-handed two-finger backup bowler? Also, the two fingers, my middle and ring finger, the middle one always seems to be sore or hurts after I throw a bowling ball. Is that due to a bad release?
Which finger hurts?
The middle one.
Yeah, that's because you're throwing a backup ball. So you're turning your, a strike ball, typically how you throw it, your hand rotates it, and that's the finger that hits it. So when you throw a backup ball, this finger comes out last, so that's why that hurts. So a person that hooks it, it's usually your ring finger that hurts. So when you throw a backup ball, that's a reversed action of that. Any advice? Find your favorite left-handed bowler and line up like them. Because you're basically bowling like a left-hander with a right hand. And it's becoming very prevalent in the two-handed world. In Europe, some of the kids that bowl two-handed are quite good at it. I mean, like legit. So it's a thing. So yeah, I mean, usually the people that I teach to throw a backup ball are girls that played softball, especially if they pitched.
Same motion.
They kind of, their hips come up and their hand goes the other way.
Yeah.
It's like when you throw a baseball, your hand comes over the top to curve it this way. Mm-hmm. Their balls, they go up.
Yeah.
So girls that play a lot of softball that pitched and can hum it, they make very good natural backup bowlers.
Wow, so you hear that out there, ladies. If you played some softball, you might have a future in bowling.
That's the natural motion they've been making all their life.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. Number 2. Hello, I'm a left-handed two-handed bowler, and when I finish, my left leg, the leg that swings around my plant foot, makes a black mark on the approach, and I can't figure out how to prevent it. It doesn't mess up the approach, but it's annoying. How do I fix this?
Probably you got to change shoes. I mean, that's all I can think of. So, yeah. Certain shoes leave marks, certain shoes don't leave marks. Mm-hmm. I have it here at my training center. I'd say once a week, somebody will come in here and they'll slide, either foot, and that back foot, the way the sole of the foot, there's rubber on it, so you're clearing it so hard, that's what's leaving the mark. It's not really the bowler, it's more of the shoe.
Yeah, I've dealt with that myself too.
Yeah, I see it all the time. Yeah. I don't have it happen here very often, but I'd say at least once a month, somebody really, just depending on what shoe they're wearing, because there's so many different brands of shoes.
Exactly. Maybe that's something these brands
It's not, I don't think the bowler's doing anything wrong.
I don't think so either. Yeah, okay.
Just make sure if you do leave it, clean it off before you leave. That's all you can do.
That's the respectful thing to do out there, guys. Respect your houses. Okay. I bought the two-handed guide and he talked about certain zones to adding rotation. How do you actually do that, as I feel every shot I do has the same rotation except when doing dead straight spares? Do I change my hand position in the beginning to increase or decrease my rotation, or opening or tightening my fingers or something?
So it would always be at release. What you're trying to do is to add rotation later. So yes, one way you can do it, there's a couple different ways you can hold your hand. This is the most common, where your pointer finger separates from your fingers and your pinky stays here. If you tuck your pinky, it gets the ball sit up higher. You can add rotation that way. Usually what I talk about when people want to add rotation in the different zones is where your thumb goes at release. So if I'm playing zone 1, I try to get my thumb to go up my middle finger. Mm-hmm. If I play zone 2, I try to get my thumb to go up my ring finger. If I'm playing left to fourth arrow, I'm really shoving my thumb down on the outside of this finger. So when I'm thinking about where I'm playing 15, that's this finger. When I release it, my thumb is going to the exact same place every time. That's what creates the rotation on a very consistent basis. For me, I would say most bowlers are pretty good at 2 zones. Mm-hmm. Like myself, I wasn't ever very good at playing zone 1. That was very hard for me to get my ball to go into a rim. Yeah. I can't throw a backup ball. So everybody tends to have 2 zones they really do well in, is what I find. Some of the tour players are good at all 3.
That is an incredible explanation of that question, because I've never heard it explained as simple. I hope you guys out there really.
Well, it has to be something you can do. Remember, coaching is about me telling you what to do.
Exactly.
I hear that all the time. People come in for lessons. Here's what I'm supposed to do. Mm-hmm. And then I say, well, sir, you're 78 years old and your foot speed's not going up, your backswing's not getting higher, and you're not adding knee bend to get your rev rate higher. Mm-hmm. So coaching isn't about me telling you what to do. Mm-hmm. Coaching me is about me telling you what you can do after I observe what you do, What's your bowling IQ? What's your skill set? What's your age? What's the flexibility of your body? All those things have to be taken into consideration before I try to help you. Now, release like that, I'm just trying to give you the basic. So if you watch some of the best bowlers, the easiest way to look at it, EJ Tackett, the best one-handed release probably in history of bowling. When he's done, it always looks like a horseshoe.
That horseshoe.
So he gets it to here, he gets it to there, and he gets it to there, but it always ends up never past there. Pete Weber, same thing. You could do way worse than have a finished position of EJ Tackett, Pete Weber.
And still be a pretty good bowler.
You'll probably like bowling a lot more if your hand looks like EJ Tackett's when you're done, or Pete Weber's.
And that's just a fact. Okay, thank you for that. That was a great explanation, honestly. So, you mentioned the jigsaw formula of putting the frame together first before the middle being the last part of the puzzle, which in bowling is power. How do you teach your students to add more revs and power once they have the other things in place?
I've never really been able to increase anybody's rev rate.
Really?
I think that's in effort to increase rev rate, all I see is lack of accuracy. Remember, a lane's built a very specific way. It's 45 feet of accuracy, 15 feet of shape or power.
Yep.
You don't need any power the first 45 feet for the simple reason there's no pins. If your rev rate's really high by the arrows, so what? They don't pay you for that.
Yeah.
So I've never really tried to add a rev rate. What I try to make your body is function better. Because there's two things at play when you throw a bowling ball. How your body functions and throwing a bowling ball. Why are the pros the pros? Because they make their body function the best as they happen to be throwing a bowling ball. What I find with everybody else, they throw the bowling ball in spite of how their body functions.
Yep.
That's why the most requested thing is consistency. If I get your timing better and your balance better and your consistency better and your timing better, the power tends to show up more in how your pins fall down.
For sure.
It's not so much, everybody's enamored with the number, the rev rate number.
That's more what that's about.
That's all this is about the number. It's more about what your score at the end. I mean, so that's how you have to look at it. Now I get it, the guys on tour have, EJ Tackett has the highest rev rate. The nicest way I can explain it to some of the guys I coach, I want my rev rate to be like this guy. I ask, what do you do for a living? Well, I'm a civil engineer. How many hours of work? Between 40 and 60. That's what EJ does. So you're gonna bowl for an hour a week and you wanna have the same release as the best guy of all time. So careful on some of that stuff unless you're willing to put in really a lot of reps. Because what happens is, I find people that are trying to increase their rev rate is when their game goes apart. They lose balance and they lose accuracy. So if you don't have balance and accuracy, the rev rate's irrelevant. That's like saying I get the ball 350 yards. I can't keep it in the driving range, but my God, can I hit it a long way? How do you do on the golf course? Well, I can't break 100.
Yep.
Yeah, that old guy can't barely hit 180 off the tee. He shoots 75 every round.
Yep.
So I get it. It's the hot topic. The things that get the most views on in the YouTube world is how to increase your rev rate. I like watching some of the videos from the Far East.
Yeah.
Those boys put a good move on it, but the ball tends to rev up a lot by the arrows.
Yeah, and I think a prime example is you can go into any bowling alley that has bowlers that have really bowled in there for a while. Not everybody has a 500 rev rate. Not everybody has a 400 rev rate.
It's hard to do.
You'll see some scores that are really good still, despite all of that. So none of that really.
So to get your rev rate higher, your hand has to be cleaner, your timing has to be better. You really got to engage your lower body to pop your right leg if you're right-handed. Your right leg and your hand have to really be in concert. That right leg has to pop your hand through the bottom of that swing, so that rev rate's fairly natural.
Yeah.
And more important of what I see of rev rate, it's about the consistency. So we use EJ Tackett. I did the strike challenge. It was right at 510 pretty much
Almost
every shot.
ball, yeah.
To me, the impressive part isn't the 500. The impressive part is the 510, 510, 510, 510, 509, 511.
Yeah.
So there's a reason why he makes so many shows. He's so consistent. He has a high rev rate, but it's the most consistent high rev rate.
Yeah, so the inconsistency will definitely.
I get why everybody wants it. I mean, whenever you go to the driving range,
looks good.
I want a new driver. You know, they sell a lot of new drivers. This one, what do they say? This driver is going to give you 20 more yards. It didn't say which way the 20 yards is going to go. It's in that tree or in that water, but it did go 20 yards farther for your free drop.
I feel like that's the same reason why all the balls keep on getting a little bit stronger, as they would say, a little bit stronger.
Hey, man, the greatest commercial of all time said what? Chicks dig the long ball.
Yep.
They like the high rev rate. I get it.
Okay. I drift to the left, but then slide back to the right 3 boards. Is that a bad thing? I see more people on tour do it as well. I see some people do it.
As long as your slide is on the same board as your pivot step, it won't interfere with your swing plane. There's a slot your swing gets into. So if you look at most of the pros, you watch you guys on TV, here's their pivot step, and they tend to slide almost on the same board, maybe a board left or a board right.
Absolutely.
As long as that 3 boards right's not inside your pivot step, because when you start sliding inside your pivot step, your swing slot has nowhere to go. You're only going to hit yourself in the ankle hard really, really once.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to really smoke it one time. The next time, you're not hitting. I've never seen anybody hit their ankle twice in a row.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens. If you slide into your swing, either you hit your ankle or what happens? You have to get your hand to go around your ankle. So that's where you add the rotation too soon. My ball doesn't read the back of the pattern. So 3 boards is about the limit of it. If you slide more than 3 boards across your pivot step, it's very hard for your swing path to stay lined up. If you look at some of the best technical bowlers of all time, you look like the easiest one, and one I work with probably the most, Chris Barnes. He's still on the same board. You look at Norm Duke, slide on the same board. You look at some of the best bowlers, they tend to slide on that same board because what happens is it keeps your head quiet. So if your head's quiet, your spine's here. Well, your arm swing comes off your spine tilt. So if your spine tilt doesn't move, here's your swing slot. If I slide into it, my slot has to go around it.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of why I like to slide straight, maybe a board or two, one way or the other.
Okay.
3's on the edge.
3's on the edge. So you're living on the edge out there. Number 6. How do I find out my numbers?
Well, the easiest way to do how to find your drift and miss numbers, like mine are 4 and 3. So I'll do a little explanation real quick. So 4 and 3 left means that if I want to slide on 20 and I want to hit 10, I stand on 16 and I look 7. I think the easiest way to do it is to have a couple different places, because bowlers that drift a lot left, we tend to drift a lot left when we play out and drift less when we play in. People that drift right don't drift as right when they play out, but that's why they struggle playing in, because they drift a lot back to the right. So for me, the easiest test would be stand on 18 with your left foot. I'd measure by the middle, look at second arrow, throw 10 shots. You write down where you slid and what you think you hit, but you have to have an independent party writing down their numbers. Here's where you slid, here's where I think you hit. Because what we see sometimes and what somebody else sees, because of where your head is at the foul line. If you're sliding on 25 and you think you hit 12, but I'm sitting on the back of the lane to the right of you, I may think you're hitting 11 every time. So to be exact, get an independent party to watch while you do your test. And then I would also do the test for standing on 25, looking about 13.
So it's very hard to do by yourself.
You can if you're really on. I mean, if you can see some people, I don't pick the ball up very well by the arrows. Because I played basketball like you, so I learned how to pick my ball up at 30 feet. So when I throw a bowling ball, I can never tell you what I hit in the front in my entire career. I can tell you instinctively, that hit exactly where I wanted. Ooh, that was a little bit in. Oh my God, did I miss by a bunch left? Because I never miss right at my target in my life, because I walk left. So I always saw my ball halfway, because I shot a jump shot, and you watch the arc, at halfway, well, it better be online. You're not very good. If it's not online, then you shouldn't be shooting jump shots. So at halfway, like, that's short, that's long, that's going in. So then you would react by following your shot. Now they just pose and they give it the 3. They don't ever follow their shot. Us old school guys, we got a few of our own rebounds. And we actually ran back on defense. That was for you, LeBron, in case you're watching. The Lakers play you a lot of money. Why don't you run back on defense once? If you want to be considered the GOAT, the GOAT was Defensive Player of the Year a couple times and made it 9 times. He always ran back on defense. So for all you LeBron James fans, I'm a Michael Jordan guy. I'm old. And I'm even older. I got Jerry West up there. All defense about 9 times.
Amen to that.
Me, myself, never made all defensive team. I was too busy shooting.
Yeah.
But I was following my shot.
You followed that shot, though.
Hey, how's that for going off topic?
No, I love it. I love it. That was a hell of an analogy, and it just got better and better and better and better. Oh, man, that was great. So, next question. What can I do to stop my arm from swinging behind my butt?
So I guess you're talking about your swing on your backswing?
I guess so.
The backswing is usually created by, I tend to see people get the ball behind them is the people that trying to drop down their second step, so it's not really a swing. So when they pull it back, when you pull the ball back with your shoulder's going to open up. But more importantly, a pullback, the ball is always going to want to go towards the center of gravity. The center of gravity is the middle of your back. So if you take that second step and you drop and your ball gets dead on your downswing and you pull it back, that tends to be the one that comes in, or the people that drift into their swings.
Okay. Nice. Okay.
I'll stay on topic once.
No, you're good. You can do whatever you want, Mark. When Mark says stand on 10, look at 5, what exactly does that stand on part mean? Is he referring to the slide foot, or is it the board that you set the ball down on?
No, I would never tell you which ball to set the ball down on because you can't see it while you do it.
Okay.
Part of coaching is me teaching you more about you. So coaching is the ability for you to go bowl without me standing behind you. I literally can't go everybody's bowling alley and I coach them while they bowl league. I barely have a good enough job coaching my own son when he bowls. So no, so when I stand on 10 and look at 5, it's always in the stance and it's always the target.
Where exactly?
I look on the middle of I just look at my middle of my foot because when I was always checking my drift when I bowled, when I looked down at the foul line, it was much easier to look at my toe. Yeah, I'm 22, so yeah, I'm standing on 18, I drifted 4, I'm good.
Perfect.
Because when I would get in trouble, I would start drifting 5 or 6, so my target doesn't change. So if I drift too far left, then the ball's offline to my target. My hand tries to come around it to get it back online, and that's when I would go on my 2-8-10 run.
Yeah.
Basically 1981 to 1983 on tour. I think I led the tour in 2-8-10s. But I learned how to walk a little straighter and left a few less.
It sounds very familiar for me too, huh? Here we go. All right, next question. Long term, will planting be bad for your knee joint? I've been planting for several years and I'm 64 years old now and want to be able to bowl as long as I can. Should I switch to slide or just keep on planting?
Well, in your question, you never alluded to your knee hurting. So a lot of it has to be just how your body's built. Some people have, some people do really, really well. Their body never hurts their entire life, and some people have a lot of pain. So if you're 64 and you're not experiencing any knee pain now when you plant, it would probably be pretty tricky to learn how to slide. So it's always about how your body reacts to it. Some people have very loose joints and they don't get sore at all. Some people are pretty stiff. And the planting, you would know pretty quick if your knee was going to hurt. I've had quite a few people I coach that, hey, by the 3rd game, I'm done. My knee, I hurt so bad, I got to start taking a leave. I got to ice it when I get home. I can't walk upstairs. Those are people I get out of the plant into the slide. But if you're not experiencing any pain and you're 64, you've been doing this a while, I think you should be okay.
Nice. Okay. What does it mean when people release across their body? Does that do anything, or is it just their release?
Well, if you release it, you're talking about your follow through, I think, coming across their body. That's become a much more, when I bowled, nobody did that. Nobody followed through this way. We all tend to follow through a little bit right of our head. The reason being, when I learned how to bowl, the balls didn't hook, or hooked very little compared to today. The easiest way we bowled it, we had a core, it was 3 ounces. Now they have a core, it's 5 pounds. 80 ounces, ball changes direction for you. When I wanted the ball to change direction, I had to do it myself. So there was a way different, our follow throughs were different. So now, because people are more open, because the break point's 5, 6, 7, 8, when I bowled, the break point was always 9, 10, 11 probably. Very rarely was it that far right. So, because we bowled on wood, the ball didn't hook as much on the back end, it hooked more early. So we had way more rotation. So I think the following through left is more, to get there, like a lot of the follow-throughs now go through their face, they go over their shoulder. I would prefer it to go left of your face than I would 6 inches right of your face. So I think that's what it is. They're a little bit more open. They're going more left to right now than they ever have. The ball's hooked way more in the back. So adding that rotation late is that hand kind of wiping over the ball, which actually is, if you look at Chris Prather, probably one of the most consistent releases that can do a lot of different things with his hand and have a lot of different ball shapes. Prather's really, really good at it. His follow through tends to go through his face or a little bit left of it.
That's beautiful,
so I think
too.
When I coach now on the strike seeker, when I see follow throughs that go right through the middle of the face, I always think that's a pretty good shot.
Absolutely. Okay. Shout out to Chris Prather. Hi, do you have any advice for bowlers with flat feet? Is there a proper type of shoe for us? Or do I have to plant instead of sliding?
It's a very hard question for me to answer. I never had flat feet.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever gotten that question, so I'm not sure how that works. That's up to, I guess it's just up to how well if you have flat feet, I guess that's how well your rhythm is.
Yeah.
If your rhythm's going to be really slow, you're probably going to have to plant. If you have flat feet and you've got good rhythm and you generate enough foot speed, sliding will be easy. But because your feet are flat and maybe you walk a little slower, if you walk really, really slow, it's hard to have a good slide without generating momentum out of your back leg, because the back leg shoves your slide forward. The slide's not independent. We're not ice skating.
Yeah.
So when that right leg bends and slides that left foot forward, if that's hard for you because you have flat feet, that may be a problem. If your feet are really, really slow, people that have really, really slow feet tend to plant and pull down with their shoulder a little bit.
Okay, gotcha. All right, and our last question. I bought Mark's Game Change for two-handers and have been trying to improve my timing when I practice. But when I bowl for score, should I concentrate on my footwork or arm swing during my approach? Does the footwork drive the swing, or the swing drives the footwork?
I'm a big believer in the footwork drives the swing. Other coaches believe the swing is way more important than the footwork that it follows. I've never been that way. I'm a jock. So I played sports all my life, and it's always about your lower body.
Yes.
And it's always about your balance. You don't balance yourself with your arms. So your legs. So a guy named Joe Willman was the greatest coach in the world, great bowler, one of the greatest coaches of all time in the 40s, 50s. He said that you always should think about your footwork. That's the only thing touching the earth.
That's a very good point, too.
So I'm a big believer in my footwork dictating what my swing does, because I'm in everything. I believe in my timing, whether it's two-handed or one-handed. I want that slide foot in front of your head, whether you're measuring your left arm or you're measuring your right arm. That's just how it works. You've got to get your body ahead of your swing. So I think the footwork determines the swing. And also on that, really work on it when you practice, but as soon as you put your ball down and you're bowling for score, work on your balance, hitting your target, and having a high pocket percentage. Don't try to work on your game when you're bowling for score. This tournament or league, it's time to bowl, knock down as many pins as you have, and you just got to work with what you have that day. There's a lot of biorhythms. Some days you got it, some days you don't. But if you want to be a good competitive bowler, you got to bowl good all the days. So even when you don't have it, make it work. If you're not throwing it very good, just don't throw it very good all day. But you can always be lined up.
Figure out how to not throw it good better.
No, some days it's just not your day.
Yeah.
Well, if that's not your day, it's like playing basketball.
Yeah.
And your jump shot's not going in, you start going to the hole, start trying to make layups, play a little defense, and then you do other things to help the team. Same thing in bowling. If it's not your best release, but you can throw it the same every time, no matter what I do, I'll leave a flat 10. Well, that means you're hitting the same place in the pocket every time. Adjust off the flat 10 and just keep throwing it consistently the same. You'll figure it out.
Absolutely. We appreciate you, Mark. Shout out to Mark Baker for answering the questions. Thank you guys so much for answering or asking these great questions. This was a great segment. We appreciate them. Continue to ask us questions in the comments, please. Do you have anything for our viewers?
Oh, that's a blast. I love the questions. It makes me think a little different. Helps me with my coaching when I go back to it. Yeah, it's been a great 2024. Look, 2025. Seems to be this question and answer thing is really popular. Keep sending them in. Like today, there were some questions I never heard. There's always a lot of questions. Send them in. And if LeBron, you were watching, my son's a huge Laker fan. We would love free tickets. We can come down. I can critique your defense and help you get to that GOAT position you're trying so hard for. Love you, LeBron.
He also teach you how to throw a strike.
No, he did good on that. He bowled that one year. He did good.
He did.
He's, just stone cold.
He is from
athlete.
Ohio. He's from Ohio.
He just piped it down the middle and he struck. And, when you're that good of an athlete, obviously things come easy to you.
You can knock some pins down.
But there is two sides to every court. You go back and you put your hands up and you try not to let the guy just make a layup.
And on that note,
drives me nuts.
Appreciate you. Perfect.